Thinker Television, brought to you by Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter, Peterson Toyota and Toyota Trucks, moving forward. Coldwell Banker, every day until it's sold. St. Croix Rod, best rods on earth. Evinrude, spend more time on the water. Good morning. Welcome to Fishful Thinker. I'm Chad LaChance, and I appreciate you joining us. It's going to be kind of a unique show for us today here at Fishful Thinker because what we're going to do is visit another front range of the Colorado fishery. We're here on Boyd Lake. Boyd Lake's a very popular fishery in Colorado. It's a very productive fishery. And one of the things you're going to see in today's show is the Division of Wildlife is going to be out here, and they're going to be doing some sampling on this lake. So not only are we going to be fishing, but we're going to see what the Division of Wildlife does when they're pulling nets and sampling the population of fish that's in this lake so they can manage it better for anglers. So it should be really neat. It's early in the fall, or kind of late in the fall, very end of September, and we're going to focus on shad. This lake's got a lot of shad in it. We're going to focus on shad type presentations. I'm going to get started this morning right off the bat with a little jerkbait. My beloved little Gulp minnow will get a workout, maybe a topwater bait. Could be a variety of fish as well, anything from trout to walleyes to smallmouth or white bass. So it's going to be a fun show. Hopefully you guys will enjoy it, so stay tuned and get comfortable. Alright, what did we get? We hadn't been fishing very long. We've been fishing literally a matter of minutes. And focusing, hey, easy there, buddy. Now, one thing, you gotta be careful with these. You get a stocker trout like that with a bunch of treble hooks in them, you need to be careful with them. But, you know, focusing on the fall fishing, fundamental stuff. A little chrome jerkbait. If you watch Fishful Thinker, easy there, buddy. If you watch Fishful Thinker very much, you know we throw that bait a lot in the fall. We hadn't been to this lake, like I said, in a very long time, and we've got a bleeding stocker rainbow right there. So you know what, rather than put that fish back in the lake, I'm going to put him in the live well and we'll eat him. So he'll be dinner here at Fishful Thinker with some scrambled eggs maybe. But at any rate, there it is, a little jerkbait. Very, very good way to imitate shad. Great way. Don't know anything about the lake, hardly hadn't been here all year, and come out on a fall pattern, get her done right off the bat. So fundamental stuff. Match your bait to your match the hatch situation in the fall of the year. Great way to get her going. Whoa, buddy. Now, things are going to get out of control here real quick. Sorry for being a little discombobulated, guys. I could actually see this trout coming. And I gave the jerkbait a little bit of a pause, and he came blowing out of nowhere and clobbered it. So I'm going to let him kind of burn out for a second. But there you go. I mean, again, we're 15 minutes into this, and we're fishing shad-style baits, and we're catching trout right away. And like I said in the open, we could catch white bass, or we could catch walleyes, or we could catch smallmouth. But so far, we've made contact with the trout. We're fishing an area that we know holds a bunch of shad. We've already seen the shad on the depth finder, and so that's kind of how we're doing it. So there you go, another stocker trout. We'll probably put this one in the live well and take him home and eat him. Division of Wildlife stocks a lot of trout in here. They grow like mad, and they're a very, very good source of food. If you like to eat trout, this is a kind of a fishery that's a perfect place to get them. Here in Colorado, it could be here, it could be Chatfield, could be any one of a, easy there, could be any one of a bunch of these front range lakes. It's just a typical stocker rainbow. And the beauty of this technique we're using is we could catch a variety of fish with it. So it's a pretty neat trick, and not something a lot of guys do for trout. It might be, yeah. Here we go. Here we go, we got our last one beat. Now folks, I'm not sure who's bigger right there. We got the monster little smallmouth who literally hit the bait the instant it hit the water. I thought the bait fouled. But it's pretty funny because, again, we're just getting started, and that's a wee little smallie. We're just getting started this morning, but already I went to the little chrome jerkbait because, as you can see, it's very bright and sunny. The water is absolutely crystal clear. We've got high bright sun. We've had very stable weather conditions for several days. It's supposed to be in the 80s today here at the very, very end of September. Very fast, very erratic, very shiny bait is what I chose right off the bat so that I could cover a bunch of water. I don't expect these fish are going to feed well, even though it's fall of the year and the fish like to feed in the fall. We don't have a good weather condition that I think they're going to really feed heavy on. So the fast, erratic bait, the shallow version of it here early in the day when the sun gets higher, I'll probably go to a spoon that's fast and erratic but deeper. Bottom line is if I thought they were feeding well, I could use a variety of baits, but since I don't think they are, we're going to go with real fast and erratic and try to elicit reaction strikes from the fish. So far that's what's happened. Trout, I think we're up to 4 trout and a smallmouth in 15 or 20 minutes, and it's just been working this real fast bait. So keep after it and see what else we can come up with. Well, I tell you, we made contact with the fish in a hurry this morning, and we get the boat turned, and we finally got another species here, and we figured we would get multiple species today. One of the good things about fishing in the fall is the opportunity to catch multiple species. Now, we just went over a spot on the graph and marked a bunch of fish. Easy there, buddy. Marked a whole bunch of fish on the graph, and I thought maybe they were crappies. Turns out they're perch. Now, I didn't figure they'd come up and get that jerkbait and get a hold of this little guy, so there you go, little tiny perch, yellow perch, good bait fish right there, good eating, and tons of them in here. But I didn't figure that whatever the fish we marked were going to come up and get their jerkbait. I ran the jerkbait over the top of them. It's the only thing that's been bit so far this morning, but they weren't interested in it. They were about 8 or 9 feet down. That jerkbait's only running a couple of feet. Got the little Gulp minnow out. You've seen it before on Fishful Thinker. It's a 3-inch smelt colored Gulp minnow on an 1/8 ounce darter head jig, 6-pound 100% fluorocarbon, 6'9", medium light, extra fast St. Croix, and a little baby size 10 Sorons. It's standard setup for me. Don't leave home without it. And second or third cast, boom, got us a perch. So spot them on the graph, spin the boat around, drop the jig down on them, little finesse, boom, catch a fish. See if we can catch another perch. Here at Fishful Thinker, one of the most common principles we use is the fact that big fish eat little fish, and there's very few baits that represent little fish better than the Berkeley Gulp minnow. If you watch the show, you know we use it a ton. It's great for a variety of fish in a variety of situations. We most commonly fish it on a jig head, but it can also be fished on a drop shot rig or even weightless. One of the most common questions I get is what's the difference between the Gulp minnows that are in the buckets and the Gulp minnows in the bag? And the easy answer is this: not a whole lot. The biggest difference is that the ones in the bucket have a higher percentage of liquid in them, and it preserves the baits better. That liquid contains the secret behind Gulp, and that's the amino acid content. The liquid is the key. Any of the Gulp baits can be put in the bucket, but keep in mind that any other brand of soft plastics, including power bait, will not benefit from going in the Gulp liquid. Day in and day out, I find that the bags of Gulp minnows are easier to deal with. For instance, if I'm walking a river or something like that, if I'm in the boat, I use the bucket. It's very common that I will mix and match colors within the bucket, or I will take baits that dry out in the bag, put them back in the bucket, and you can reuse them and recharge them. The Gulp minnow will catch you fish anywhere you fish. Keep in mind the bags and the buckets, you got options as an angler. If you use them, you'll catch more fish. Comes somebody right here. What do we got here? Hang on, what do you got there? Got him. All right. That's what a suspending jerkbait's all about right there. It's a little smallmouth, and we'll swing, or no, it's a little largemouth, and we'll swing him up in here. I actually snagged him on top of the head. He kept bumping the bait right next to the boat. He'd come up and bump at it, and I'd keep popping on him, and he'd bump it, and I'd pop him, and he'd bump it again. But the crazy thing about that is the whole deal is that suspending jerkbait. It's a little shad bait for in the fall. The reason that the bait needs to suspend was evident right there. It didn't float, just a little largemouth, nothing fancy, but we had fun with that one, I'll guarantee you that. The bait sat horizontally in the water, basically sat there. So I would twitch it, he'd come bump at it, and he was just kind of giving it little kisses, and I'd twitch it again and just let it sit there. It doesn't float and it doesn't sink, it just sits there. And that kept the fish interested, even right next to the boat. He swirled at it a couple different times. I just kept playing with it, playing with it, playing with it until he turned with it, got lucky and got him. So, in sticking with our classic fall pattern, we are now on a wind-blown point and saw some birds working. And when I say working, we saw them actually hitting the surface and diving. Now we've got another little dink. We're not doing Boyd Lake any justice today, and I don't know why that is. I suspect just because we're really not in a great bite condition, the little fish are easier to get to react, and certainly there's a higher percentage of them in here. So it's a wee little largemouth. But interesting thing about him is that he's out here in 15 feet of water, swimming right to the surface, grabbing a lipless crankbait that I'm burning right here. The wind's blowing across here. The birds, you can see we got birds working over the top of us right here. And that's sometimes how you get it done in the fall. Lipless crankbait in windy, wind-blown areas where you expect the bait to be pushed in there. Good way to catch fish. All right, well, still working the classic fall stuff. It's getting warmer out, as you can see. I stripped out of my jacket, and fish aren't getting any bigger. But we're still catching fish, and we're catching fish consistently. Another little small largemouth. We're working a channel edge right here. It's deep water on that side, shallow shelf on this side with vegetation on it. We're not fishing the vegetation. I feel like it's a little bit too late in the year for that, or at least too early in the day, maybe when the sun gets out. Right on this edge right here, I'm working the boat right down it, looking at it on the Lowrance. We spotted some fish, dropped the gold minnow on them, and in 2 casts, caught one. Come on, big largemouth. Love. Got him. Okay, maybe a little love. Oh, and I foul hooked him on the back, but that's all right, we got him. Oh, that's fun stuff right there. And again, we didn't get a very big one in. We didn't even hook him in the mouth, but we did get one. He's got a buddy chasing him right there, which is classic. And right off the end of the dock, you know, but again, it's another shad type bait, another wee little largemouth. Walking bait this time, like I said at the open of the show, walking baits, jigs, spoons, crankbaits, lipless crankbaits, all kinds of baits that mimic bait fish. It's fall, that's why you get it done. Still working the dink pattern. It's the same dock we just pulled the other one off of with the bait. Now look, if you look down the water right here, maybe the camera will be able to see this other largemouth that's following him. See this other largemouth that's following the one I've got hooked? There's another one running right there with it, but I don't know if the camera can see that. That's really classic for fall. It wouldn't come back up and bite the topwater bait again, but I go back after him with the little Gulp minnow on the lighter rod, and lighter rod would certainly be appropriate for those. But it's a classic 1-2 punch. The first cast was with the topwater bait, got bit, didn't get any more bites after that, go right back with the jig and get bit right away. So I suspect we can probably catch more of these guys right here, and I believe there's probably going to be potential for a better size one, so we'll see. Here's a bite right here. Got him. All right, so there is a bunch of them right here. And I got another one off the end of that same dock. Just keep throwing back to the same dock. Now this one's a little bit bigger. We're headed the right direction. If we keep going like this, we'll have us a 5-pounder by the leg, I don't know, December. But anyway, a little bit bigger largemouth right there. Okay, down the shady side of this dock. Close as possible. Right down that edge. Some largemouth wants to come blasting out of that dock and get that thing. Got him. Come out there. Come out there. Oh, I don't know if he's big or what. Oh, it's a nice one. Okay. Okay. Now, hopefully this one will stay on. It's a good sized largemouth. He's on 6-pound test. That's why you guys hear that drag. That drag needs to be set to protect your line. And this is a nice one. For this lake, guys, this is a big old largemouth for this lake. Now, we're gonna see if he'll stay down and stay hooked. And please stay hooked, please. Oh, please stay hooked. Oh, please stay hooked. Come on, baby. For this lake, guys, this is a big one. Come here, come here. Come here, baby. Come here, come here, come here. Come here, come here, come here, come here. Come on, fish. Come on, fish. There's your little Gulp minnow right there, baby. 3-inch Gulp minnow. That is a hog. For this lake, guys, this is a big old giant largemouth. And we've been saying it all morning as we catch all these small fish. We've been saying it all morning. We'll put this in the water and let him get a drink because I want to get another look at him. That's a really nice largemouth. For a front range fishery, this lake gets a ton of pressure, an absolute ton. Big old mouth on him. perfect fish, not a mark on them. Shallow dock, as you can see. I'm gonna go ahead and get it put back. I'm gonna let him go and see what she does here. See if she'll jump. Sometimes they'll jump while they get their wits about them. No. Here's a bite, here's a bite. He's got it. He spit it. I think that was a little guy. You can see the line pull up, but he definitely had it. I think that was a little fish of some sort, so I'm gonna grab my Gulp minnow. We're gonna see about catching him real quick. Throw it right back where it was. Let the minnow go down. There he is right here. Got him. There you go. That's the 1-2 punch for it. Oh, get up out of the bushes with the 6-pound test. All right. Now, that's why I said the 1-2 punch. I was afraid that the Gulp jerk shad is a bigger bait, and it's a 5-inch long Gulp bait, and it's a fairly dense bait. That's not the biggest largemouth I've ever seen right there. It's a nice little fish. It's a perfect fish for Boyd Lake, and we're gonna put him back. But the 3-inch Gulp minnow is perfect size for a fish like that. So it's a little bit lighter rod, a little bit lighter line, 1/8-ounce jig head, and a 3-inch minnow. I've been working the same minnow all day, or all morning. We've been here about 2 hours now. But at any rate, been throwing it around. The soft jerk bait got bit. The fish didn't really commit to the bait, threw the small bait back and got him on the first pitch. You see all those little largemouth lined up right there on the other side of that rope. The crazy thing, they're using those vertical poles as their cover. They've got the overhanging dock, but they're obviously concentrated heavily on the vertical poles, and that should definitely be a lesson to anglers. If you can't fish all 100 feet of this dock, but you could certainly go through and pitch to all the poles. And if the camera pans over and look at this front pole over here, it's got just as many fish just about sitting on the front pole. So it's definitely a pattern. They like the poles themselves. There's a vertical cover versus the horizontal cover. There's bluegill under there as well. We'll see what happens when they throw a bait up in there real gentle. Let's see if somebody, boom, first one tapped it, but it's too big of a bait for those guys to catch. But they all like it. Look at them all follow it down. Got him right off the bat. See, that's what happens when you throw a bait that's the right size for the fish you're trying to catch. I threw the 5-inch bait in there, too big for them. They all came and looked at it. Several of them actually bit it, but it's too big to hook them with. But the little 3-inch minnow on the lighter rod makes fish like that fun as well, especially when you can just pick them off one after the other out of there. Okay, let's try that again. Looks like crappies. I probably need a smaller jig. We're gonna throw it out here and see who comes and gets it. There, somebody got it. They're getting it on the fall. I need a bobber. Oh, that's a largemouth. That's cheating. People wonder why I fished the Gulp minnow, just hanging there. I mean, I just saw the fish coming, I just barely moved it a tiny bit and lifted him out of the water. That's almost mean to do to fish. I always talk about all the time that casting accuracy catches more fish. Casting accuracy and line control, it kind of all goes hand in hand. Catches more fish. I don't care if you're a spinning rod fisherman or a fly fisherman or whatever. Being able to cast accurately and manage your line efficiently is a key to catching fish. Fishing around docks especially, it's ultra important because, again, like I said, you don't want to be snagging people's stuff. That's the quickest way to lose your privileges to fish. Now we got us another species. What did we get this time? We got us a little crappie. I thought I saw a couple of those underneath there. I actually talked about downsizing my bait. Didn't need to. Beautiful little white crappie right there, hanging with the largemouth under the docks. Perfect situation, like I said, all the bait fishing here. You can see the nice colors on them. Love those guys, beautiful. They don't grow all that fast here in Colorado, so we put them all back. There you see the Colorado Division of Wildlife, and they're pulling nets right here. And what they're doing is they've got sampling nets, and we're gonna come up here and talk to those guys. But one thing that's really important is that they've got that net strung and they have buoys between those nets, or between those buoys is where that net is running. So it's really important to to not run in between those buoys when you're fishing.
The walleye fishery in Boyd is maintained almost exclusively through stocking.
So, and that wouldn't be possible without all the brooding that's done at other
Without
times.
the operations of Cherry Creek, Chatfield, and Pueblo, there wouldn't be much of a walleye fishery here.
Ben here with the Colorado Division of Wildlife is sampling Boyd Lake with the gill net like we've been showing you. So what they're doing now is all the live fish are corralled in a tank, and then what?
Basically, we get lengths and measurements and scale samples to determine the age of the fish, how fast they're growing, and the particular abundance of each species, so we can determine what we've been stocking, whether or not it's working, or adjust our numbers accordingly.
So we showed the gill net here today. What are some of the key sampling methods that you use?
You know, if you got a close enough view of what we had in our tub, you wouldn't see an extremely large number of sunfish. So we also use trap nets, which are oriented towards the shore, which catch the crappie and bluegill in the spring. Also, we use electrofishing. Electrofishing is only good 4 feet deep, so in a lake like such as Boyd, you know, gets upwards of 40 feet deep. It's not the most efficient method. The gill nets are the way to go here.
Well, our day has come to the close here on Boyd Lake. You saw what we caught in the lake. Ben, what did you guys catch today?
Well, we had 8 gill nets. We caught walleye up to 29, 30 inches, caught catfish up to 32 inches and 16 pounds. Fair number of decent crappies and smallmouth up to 4.5 pounds.
His day was better on the lake than ours, and it just goes to show you guys, it's what our knowledge as anglers is not indicative of what actually goes on in a fishery. These guys know. Ben, thanks very much for your efforts.
My pleasure, Chad.
You think going forward, anglers can expect a good
I would
year?
expect a great year for 2011 on 14 to 15-inch walleye, June and July, and some keeper walleye coming out of in August.
Going to be a good year here at Boyd Lake, Colorado. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for your efforts,
my pleasure.
and we'll see you next week. Bet we can. If I don't fall out of the boat, we can. Oh yeah, well done. Oh, there's a nice one sitting right there. Got him. Holy crap, dude, that thing got freight trained. No.